Carrie, how are you? And thanks a lot for joining us. I've been following you and I've been seeing what you've done. And tell us a little bit about what you've been doing in your dealership based on before COVID-19 and after COVID-19. You're doing great, I hear. Let us know.
Number one, I'm honored to be on the show, Richie. Thank you. Fantastic, man. It's a beautiful Friday. We're coming to a close of the week where, I had an awesome week. When I'm helping people, making impacts on people's lives, it's always going to be an awesome week. So before COVID, I did some finance. I was actually in Lexington at a Chevy store, decided to go in a different direction. So where I'm at now, I'm literally right outside of Louisville, and 95% of our customers are, special finance. Now, being that I grew up, in staff event sales, so 90% of those customers, were credit challenged, special finance. So most of my career is experienced just in that type of credit. And for these folks, there's a big niche market out here. These are people that I really want to help. It's kind of why I've called myself like a coach instead of more or less like a consultant, which I've done that too. But as a coach, because I've already done, the positions. I've been in finance. I know what it takes, what a bank is looking at. And a lot of these people that come on, trying to get approved, they've been turned down everywhere else. It's because they just made bad decisions. You got life, we're in a pandemic right now. So these are the people that I really want to help and I really want to reach. And that's what we do here.
That's great. And have you been doing a lot of social media organically with lives and all that?
I'm actually just starting to incorporate that, Richie, as a manager. I didn't really have the, whether it's what I was in finance or I was a floor manager or a closer, I didn't really have to do the social media. Of course, I preach that to my guys. And of course, because there is a power to it. I've seen it. And right now, just the videos that I've done, I just want to send one positive message every day. That's what I try to do. And if I could reach just one person out of everybody, I'm not going to reach an entire market. But if my message really makes an impact, whether it's a salesman, a manager, a customer, it doesn't matter to me. But if I made an impact, then I've done something good. That's really what it's all about. I try to share my knowledge. Of course, I've learned from the best. I have a lot to give, and I'm still learning. This social media, I'm brand new to it, but I'm navigating it. It's exciting. It's a whole new adventure that I've got going on right now, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, the beautiful about social media, years ago they used to say, I have a lot of contacts in my Rolodex and all that. Here's what social media, what I think, only my perception with social media is, it's not who you know, it's who knows you, right? And that's what social media did. What social media did was open up that who knows you, right? And when that phone rings on somebody that knows you through social media, or somebody that referred you because they saw you on social media, that's going to be a much bigger conversion. And talk about branding yourself with a company, with a dealership, right? What I would do today if I'm in sales, and I've said this before, I would do one thing today. I would get my customers on a live. Everybody likes live. And I would ask them, how did it go? How did your process go? And that's what I want to talk about, to get that customer to talk about their experience with me. A, I have a testimonial. B, I'm hitting their audience. Now, all their audience on Facebook knows that they bought a car from me, right? So you're hitting your audience, you're adding the credibility part, right? And I have a thing where credibility, pain, and solution, right? I listen more to the pain. I don't worry about the credibility as much. I want to hear your pain, and I want to give you the solution that might work for you based on the information you've given me. Well, in sales, it's the same thing. That customer's going to the showroom, and especially with what you do, special finance, they have a pain. Now you bring in that solution. It's all about listening to the customer's wants and needs. When you listen to the customer's wants and needs, now you can have a deal, right? Like with dealers' wants and needs, there's a lot of wants and needs in a dealership, you know? Like one of the things is right now, they're hitting diminishing returns on digital marketing. Some dealers doing good and some dealers are doing not so good. And they have the same company. One of the companies that's really good with digital marketing, and I'm going to say this, is Pure Car, right? Pure Car is one of the best companies out there that I know that actually convert a lot of deals, you know? So that being said, what we do is we bring leads to the dealership. Not only do we bring leads, we have training also, and it's complimentary training for 6 hours in a dealership because we're hearing the problems that there is today. One of the things with you is you're starting out with that social media, but I've been watching your social media. You're getting a lot of engagement, you're getting a lot of likes, and you're getting a lot of shares. Could you share with us, what do you think you attribute that to?
That's a great question. So when I decided to rebrand myself, Richie, you know, when I first got in this business, I was very competitive. In fact, when I first started, I remember, you know, watching all these guys that were just hostage, you know, these studs, these sales guys and sales women. And I said, you know what, you know, that's where I want to be, you know, and just watching a really good car guy. So later on, you know, being number one every week or number one every month, reaching all those goals, the awards, the plaques, and, you know, having that behind it with the competition. If you're a customer and you're watching the people that you're working with, that's great. You know, you're reaching all these goals and these awards and all this stuff. But my kind of customers, if I was them, I probably wouldn't want to work with the guy that's chasing strictly just numbers and goals, and which that's great. But I think maybe I'd want to work with somebody who most of the stuff they say is not even geared towards them personally. So when I did that little bio with you, being the athlete on the floor is not where my focus is right now. And I really don't want my customers to view me as the athlete and I'm just trying to crush goals. And, you know, when I talk about my store, I really talk about my team, not really just me personally. So it's a different outlook that I want my customers to see me as somebody that really wants to help them. You know what I mean? So my goals and my awards and my plaques right now, it's about the many people that I'm helping. It's about the families that I'm impacting. That's what I'm looking at. Those are the awards that I'm looking for, because I've had all the other stuff, you know, and I see the younger guys coming in. I think it's awesome. You know, again, don't change. I mean, keep doing what you're doing, but you're going to reach a different type of audience. The audience that I have, I don't think they want to work with the guy that's, oh, you know, I just sold 40 or 50 or 60, because really then they're just a number. With these people, you got to slow down. It's trust. You got to build that trust. You got to earn that trust, and you have to do it quick. Me, I'm genuine. I know how to help people. There's not a situation when you've worked thousands of car deals. I mean, you've seen everything, and I have, you know.
Right.
So you want to have that type of person that's going to handle your situation, your affairs, because they know exactly how to do it. Not the guy that's just got in the business for 6 months or a year. You know, they're wanting to be number one. They're wanting to crush it. That's great. But I just think it's a different type of, you know, it's an outlook. It's what, you know, customers perceive. What's the thing? Perception's reality.
Right.
So when I branded myself as a coach, that's exactly what I did. I'm still, you know, hustling. I'm still working my butt off, but it's just it's a different transition. You know, I'm more focused on my customers, their wants, their needs, not just what I'm trying to get out of it. If I'm helping them, then I am getting something out of it.
And you know, I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the reasons we wanted you to come on here is because we see your process. We're not big on, there's a lot of guys that do live about what they did, and that's the past, you know, and what they're doing, and that's the past. Because when you talk about what you did a minute ago, that's the past. We like to concentrate on the solution first, listening to the pain that's out there, spinning out a solution, and not so much on the credibility, because that's the past. What really matters is what we're doing today. It's just like this. When somebody's in your life and they leave your life and they come back to your life, you better go back like you first met them. Take it as a new relationship, because you don't know if they're doing worse or better. Just like a customer buys something from you 3 years, they come back in a year and a half. You don't know what changed, right? Well, it's the same way in business, you really don't know. When you see somebody like yourself with that kind of passion and you're hitting their audience and different audience, which you're doubling it, because also the people that are rocking and rollers, they want to see something, but you're also changing a perception out there of what you're doing. And that's probably why you're growing right now. You're going to continue to grow, because how do you grow? By learning. Everybody says, always be closing. Well, I say always be learning, and you never got to worry about always be closing. The close happens by itself. We don't close anybody. Customers close themselves, right? Is what I think. All you do is provide a service, ask them for the business once you've earned the right to ask them for the business, and then move forward from there. So that's what we really like about you, and what we've been watching your stuff on social media. We haven't seen a lot on a podcast, which we highly recommend you should, because you have a great way about you. And not only that, you have a great honesty factor about you, and you really are gaining engagements. I got you on two of my Facebooks, and I'm always watching on both of them. And I'm also watching, the reason I have two Facebooks is I'm a numbers guy, right? So I watch when you hit my news feed on one, and why don't you hit it on my other one as fast, right? Because I want to see if it's the content you're putting out that matches my brand. One, I'm registered as a marketer, right? The other one, I'm registered as a car guy. Okay, so I only get ads that people are running on the one that I'm registered as a car guy. And the one I'm registered as a marketer, I get other ads. Nothing to do with the car business, right? And it's different. And that's what I'm seeing. I see you more on my marketing site than on my other site on Facebook. Now I say why. Why? Because I think Facebook is putting you out there where I am, because I'm a marketer, registered as a marketer, to see if I see anything. So that's why I have two different brands. One is Richie Bello, one is Richie Bello, to see where I get, to see what's going on. What is your message? And instead of me using my own process, I use Facebook's process. I use their platforms to see who's who, right? So it's very important what you're doing, how I'm getting all your stuff right away on one, and then I'm getting it on the other, right? Because Facebook could be saying, I'm one of your competitors, right? So that's another thing, So these are all things that work with Facebook, the way they do things, So, and you're doing really well. You're one of the guys, I know Doug is doing really well at the Cadillac store in Michigan. He's done unbelievable numbers. They hit #1 in Cadillac and #1 in CPO last month. And one of the reasons is because he's proactive. He's all about going out there and delivering the car to the people's homes. He's all about that. He don't care 20 minutes, 30 minutes. He's very proactive.
So he does the extra little things, and it's those little things that
right.
make a difference and keep those people coming back and load you up with referrals. So you don't have to work as hard. You got people calling you instead of the other way around. Very smart.
And talk about a referral. I mean, really, prospecting in our business have been around since it started. There's a prospecting machine right now, and it's free. And it's your live. You start bringing in the customer you delivered on Monday, you put them on live on Wednesday, and you ask them, how did your process go? What did you like about our dealership? And all this stuff, you ask them 5 or 6 questions, And it's very important. And everybody's a lead gen and all that. Let me tell you something. The way to ask for leads, you get a website, you put on there, before you buy a car, fill this form out to get 10 tips on how to buy a car. Before you trade a car, put 10 tips on how, you talk about leads. I know 3 guys that are doing that on their websites right now, and they're converting their traffic that was not normally converting. And that's all you want. In the car business, not one thing is going to get you to that number. In the car business, 30 different things, a little bit of them is going to get you to that level. It ain't one thing. Just because you do that doesn't mean anything. But if you do consistently 10 or 15 different things, that's going to help you convert. That really is going to help you convert. And the only way that you're going to convert your dealership to the next level is by putting different things and measuring those things, right, for the opportunity. They have a lot of people are doing sales funnels in different fields. Car business is not using it as much, but marketers are using it, a lot of businesses. Now, the whole idea of a sales funnel, the only idea of a sales funnel really is to measure and inspect your sales process, because a sales funnel gets you leads and then the sales process takes over. So now you know the kind of sales department that you have. That's what a sales funnel traditionally was made for. Then all these marketers took it because they have the sales process to convert more business. So it's something that the problem in our business that I see, I'm in different industries apart from the automotive sector. The problem in our business is we don't inspect. We expect our people to perform. Nowadays, it's changing a little bit. There's more and more stores inspecting and not expecting, but still, there's more stores that train their salespeople. If you take it like this, and if you do the service walk, do a demo ride, do the introduction to the staff in the dealership, you convert. The problem is there's no inspection for that. Problem is you're at a desk and you don't know if your salesman did that or not. That's the problem. There's no inspection, and you can't, if you don't inspect, don't ever expect anything. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, you hit some really important key points, and you're right. I mean, absolutely. I mean, I 100% agree with that.
Because sales has to be with inspection, because, us salespeople, not for nothing, we go to the least of path resistance. Really, that's what we do. I mean, and whoever says no, to that is crazy, because that's what I do. That's what everybody does. And how do you know you have a really good salesman? There's a characteristic behind the salesman. There's one thing that tells me that a salesman's good. One thing and one thing only. When a salesman is terrible at follow-up. You have a salesman that's bad at follow-up, get more customers in front of him, because what he's good at is when that customer's in front of him. Right. We're not the type of people that follow up. That's a different level. That's a different process.
Well, and that's also having a good manager that's involved, that has a team,
right,
and watching his team, and he's staying on top of these follow-ups. But you're right. You've got the 1 day, 3 day, the 1 month, the 3 month, and really just trying to, let that customer know you're here for them. They weren't just a number to you. Absolutely. Right. But a manager should really be holding them accountable. And anybody that's a pro should be holding themselves accountable too. I'm guilty of it, but you're right. A follow-up can destroy either potential repeat business or even some good referrals that might have come out of it.
There's a trainer, and the reason I deal with a lot of different trainers and all that, because I want to get this program and put the training in dealerships, right? So I deal with one trainer. His name's Brandon Hardison. He is the only trainer that I know of that will follow you up until it's either a deal or you just tell him, don't call me no more. Okay, he's that good, right? He believes in follow-up a lot. and a lot of these trainers go into a place and don't follow up. Not too long ago, I had an opportunity to see something like that, and he followed up what we told him to follow up, and he booked 10 days in training. Because when you sell a product, you got to find out, did the product work for you? Oh, it did it. Oh, okay. Let's do this training. Well, the dealership actually said, my sales team at one time was not that effective. So I just hired a bunch of guys. I tell you what, I'll book you for 5 days first, and then I'll book you for 5 days more. That's 10 days. You got to figure this out. 10 days at $2,000 a day. All it was get in the car and go there and ask them, how did it go? Not hard to do. And it's a pretty easy thing, but sometimes what happens to all of us, even myself, I'm guilty of this 100 times. Out of sight, out of mind. And that's what happens. And it's all about that follow-up. And I don't know how to follow up that great, but I have people in my team that handle all my follow-up because I don't know how to follow up that great. And that's important.
I delegate. And you've already spotted that you delegate, so that you've already spotted that's your weakness, but you're also making sure that weakness isn't losing you anything. Which is correct.
I try to concentrate on a couple of things. I don't concentrate on everything, so I have a team that does that for me because I can't concentrate on everything because I would fail on everything I do. I know what I'm good at, and that's what I focus on, and I know what I'm not good at. So why focus on that, which I'm never going to be good at? It's not a natural. So let me get somebody that is good at that. And once you do that, now you become more effective. And talk about dealerships. Dealerships are funny because let's talk about leads, right? So when you sell a lead and you give them complimentary training, right? So let's say they don't really get to 20 cars. Say they get to 8 or 10 cars. But what have you done? You've increased your productivity and you've increased your enthusiasm, because when a showroom gets leads and gets customers, your sales department gets enthusiastic about it, right? So what is enthusiasm? Well, enthusiasm is the B12 of a business. When you first hire a salesman that's never sold a car, the first month and second month, he beats your top guys or becomes second. Why? Because of enthusiasm, right? And that's the data that we have. So that being said, why not create enthusiasm in your dealership?
Exactly.
Because when you learn, all you're doing is creating that enthusiasm higher and higher and higher. And enthusiasm carries Fortune 500 companies. And how they create enthusiasm is by training and showing their people new things and new ways. And when you talk about a trainer, all a trainer is I go to your dealership to train, right? But I'm observing and I watch what works for you. And then I fly out of your dealership to my hometown and I put your process somewhere else. All I'm doing is figuring out what's working for you, where you need your help, but using that knowledge for another dealership. So it's very important to communicate with car people that are trainers or are consultants, because that's how you learn. You don't learn from them. You learn what they're telling you is what they've seen work in other places. That's what you've learned. It's all about observing and growing and growing and learning. And like I said earlier, everybody wants to always be closing, always be learning, because when you always be learning, you got enthusiasm that you're capturing, you got productivity that you're capturing, and everything is changing today, with digital marketing. It's not like the newspaper or television, it changes. I mean, what worked for Google yesterday does not work today. And what worked yesterday, right, it'll never work today because they change it. And what works today, it's not going to work tomorrow.
That's right.
It's just not. If you don't increase your technology, if you don't compete against Google and see what they're doing, how to know it? It's seeing what they're doing, and now seeing what they're doing, you got to learn how to change your whole system. And that's what it's about. And that's what I like about the digital marketing piece, because it doesn't work. What worked yesterday doesn't work today, and what works today ain't gonna work tomorrow.
That's right. You can't be stagnant here. I mean, you got to always be adapting, always be learning, always be changing. And I love that, because you're right. You got to always be, because if you're not, and you're just staying in one spot, like you said, one thing's just not going to do it.
Well,
Just one tool isn't going to just open this door, open whatever. You got to have a lot of tools. I have a tackle box that is just filled with all kinds of tools that I've learned, from when I first got in this business, and I'm always learning. And I've given these tools to other, and I love that, because when you keep sharing, I learn things from Greenpeace sometimes. Maybe they say something because they don't know any better, but I'm always watching the psychology of the business, and that's one thing that I did in the beginning. I did, when you saw somebody and they said something to a customer, you watch that reaction. And when I watched their eyes perk up, I knew there was value in what this guy just said to the customer. And this guy might be completely different personality than me. But when I got a chance to use what they just did, I'd use it right away. And I might even stumble with it. And sometimes I would. Maybe even the second time I'd stumble with it. But you keep doing it until you get it into your own verbiage, your own style. And once you have that, you own it. Nobody can take that away from you. And that's what I've trained a lot of newer guys in this business. Hey, you see something, you use it right away. Don't sit on it. Use it. Even if you stumble, who cares? Only you're going to know that it's the first time you ever said it to the customer. I'm not going to know that. Don't be scared about it. Just go with it. But eventually, you learn to adapt, and you put this in your own style, and it's doing your word tracks, having a conversation, not sounding like a robot. When I did my road shows, we were 14, 15 hours at the store. When you got done, you came back to the hotel. I still spent another 3 hours in my hotel going over my entire day. I would literally rewind my day back like watching a movie. And I would remember the conversation I had with the customer, and I would play it back just like I would a movie. And I'd say, you know what, man, I probably should have said that instead. So next time I'll try that. And I would write down. And if you're not making journals, and you're not writing down where your weaknesses and your strengths, and you're not applying them, and you're not sitting in front of maybe a mirror. When I learned how to close, I sat by myself in front of a mirror for hours, learning my posture, learning little things like that, because your posture is going to make your customer feel comfortable. The guy that just closed a number, he's doing this with a phone while they're sitting thinking, oh yeah, I hear you. They're talking to another customer, rude, by the way. You give this person in front of you your 100% attention. You don't answer the phone and talk to another customer. You give this person and I see that going on all the time. It kills me. But anyway, once you do that, your posture needs to be perfect, because it's relaxing. You want to give your customers, that feeling that you're 100%. And when I close, I shut up. And I remain a statue. I become so still that I'm probably invisible to that customer. I've mastered it, because I've literally stood like this in front of a mirror by myself for hours.
Right.
The longest close I ever had to do like this with a customer in a showroom was 47 minutes of silence.
Wow.
47 minutes of me not moving. And then they said, okay, Kerry, we're good. And they signed.
Yeah.
But to have that type of, I don't see a whole lot of that anymore. But a lot of the old car guys, that's what you did. You practice. Practice makes perfect. You can't go to if you play football and you only play the game when there's a tournament. How good can you actually be if you're not practicing off the field?
Right.
So if you're only practicing at work, yeah, you'll get good. You'll get better. You'll get better at solving problems. But could you be a lot better faster? Of course, if you did this outside of work and just applied yourself, maybe 2-3 hours, maybe 5 hours extra a week. just applying yourself, just going over things, tightening up your work ethic.
You're absolutely right, you know. And you brought a couple of points with silence. That's really the closer, you know. That's really the close. A lot of people don't have that ability. They plant the seeds, they do everything, and why they don't get there is because the gift of gab, you know. But you got to know when to be quiet and when to talk. When you say what you feel and you look at the posture and you look at how their reaction, because you ask a question not for the answer. You ask the question to see their reaction. And when they give you that answer back, what you answer is going to convert it or not. That's when the silence comes golden. When they ask you the question and you answer it, and that's it. And that has to do with how you answer that question. There's something called informational selling. We're at the age of knowledge selling, mentor selling. If I mentor you, right, I'm going to sell you something. Is it easier to sell a friend? Absolutely. Is it easier to sell somebody you're mentoring? Without a doubt. That's why mentor selling has to do with knowledge selling. That's the new way. A lot of people don't know that. I tell you what, big companies are doing that for the last decade. B2B companies. That's what they're doing. They're mentoring first, making a friend, and now they got a better shot of selling versus just selling traditionally. Because today, the reason that happened is because of all the knowledge on Google. Everybody searches everything today. You tell somebody a word that they haven't heard before, the first thing they're going to do is Google it. They're not going to ask somebody else. The first thing they're going to do is Google it. So that being said, what is the audience today looking for? Knowledge. So we know that information. So let's stop information selling and give them knowledge selling. Very, very important. Very, very important. Kerry, thanks a lot. It was our pleasure that you came to our show. We really look forward in bringing you more, and we look forward in doing some type of deal with you and your company. And again, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining us. Have an awesome day and enjoy your weekend. And I hope you sell lots of cars. Keep up the good work, Gary.
I'm very honored too. Thank you, Richie. I mean, you guys have an awesome day over there.
Take care.